The story begins with a packed auditorium at one of the most prestigious universities in the United States. The air buzzed with excitement as students, faculty, and media representatives gathered to witness an extraordinary event. It was not every day that an 18-year-old freshman, the youngest son of a former U.S. president, was about to give a speech that would go down in history. Barron Trump, the towering, confident son of Donald Trump, stepped onto the stage. He adjusted the microphone and surveyed the crowd with a mixture of calm and anticipation. For someone who had grown up in the glare of public scrutiny, he appeared remarkably composed. His striking resemblance to his father and his mother's elegance added to the intrigue. "Good evening, everyone," Barron began, his voice steady and clear. "Before I start, let me say this. If someone had told me a few years ago that I'd be standing here addressing all of you, I would have laughed. And yet, here I am." The audience chuckled politely, sensing the sincerity in his words. Barron paused, gathering his thoughts, and continued. "Growing up as the son of the 47th President of the United States was unusual, to say the least. It wasn't always easy, but it was always a lesson. People often assume that my family name gave me every advantage, and while I won't deny the privileges, it also came with its own challenges. Every misstep, every awkward teenage moment, was magnified and scrutinized by the world." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. "But I'm not here to talk about what it means to be a Trump. I'm here to share a story about dreams, resilience, and the power of belief." Barron leaned forward, his tone growing more animated. "When I was 12 years old, I told my father that one day I might run for president. His response was classic. 'Maybe you will, kid. But remember, it's not about the title. It's about what you stand for.' At the time, I didn't fully grasp the depth of those words, but they stayed with me." He recounted a turning point in his life, a trip he had taken with his mother, Melania, to a small, underprivileged school in a remote part of the country. "It was my first real exposure to people my age living completely different lives. There was a boy there, younger than me, who told me, 'I don't want to be rich or famous. I just want my family to have enough to eat.' That shook me to my core. It made me question everything I took for granted." The audience was silent, hanging on his every word. "From that day on, I decided to do more than just observe. I started volunteering, learning, and engaging with communities. I realized that leadership isn't about power. It's about service. It's about lifting others up, even when it's not convenient or glamorous." Barron's voice grew impassioned as he shared stories of the people he had met and the lessons they had taught him. He spoke of a single mother working 3 jobs to support her children, of a veteran struggling to find purpose after serving his country, and of young students dreaming big despite their circumstances. "These people didn't ask for much," Barron said. "They wanted dignity, opportunity, and hope. And I thought to myself, if I can do something, anything, to make their lives a little better, isn't that worth pursuing?" His speech took a reflective turn as he addressed the skeptics who often dismissed his ambitions because of his last name. "Yes, I'm a Trump, but I'm also Barron. My story, my values, and my dreams are my own. And if there's one thing I've learned from my family, it's this: never let anyone define your potential." He concluded his speech with a bold declaration. "So maybe I will become president one day. Not because of my name, but because I dared to believe in something bigger than myself. And if I can inspire even one person here tonight to dream a little bigger, to work a little harder, then every challenge I've faced will have been worth it." The auditorium erupted in applause. Barron Trump had not only captivated his audience, but had also ignited a spark of hope and inspiration. His words resonated far beyond the walls of the college, spreading across the nation and the world. The applause thundered through the auditorium, reverberating with the emotions Barron's speech had stirred. As he stood there, taking in the overwhelming reaction, he felt a mix of humility and determination. The crowd wasn't just applauding his words, they were applauding the vision he had dared to share. After the event, Barron stepped off the stage and was immediately surrounded by students, professors, and journalists eager to speak with him. Questions poured in. What's your next step, Barron? Do you really see yourself running for office someday? How do you plan to bridge the divide your family name sometimes evokes? Barron smiled, his demeanor calm. One step at a time, he replied. Leadership isn't about rushing into power. It's about preparing yourself to serve others. For now, I'm focused on learning, growing, and contributing in any way I can. That evening, Barron returned to his dorm room, exhausted but exhilarated. His phone buzzed incessantly with messages from friends, family, and even strangers. Social media platforms were ablaze with clips of his speech, and hashtags like #MaybePresidentBarron and #DreamBig trended nationwide. His parents called to congratulate him. "You made us proud, son," Donald Trump said, his voice filled with rare softness. "Not just as a Trump, but as yourself." His mother, Melania, added, "Your words came from your heart, and that's what people saw. Always stay true to that." The next morning, Barron woke up to an unexpected development. His speech had gone viral, sparking discussions in classrooms, coffee shops, and boardrooms. News outlets debated the significance of his words, with some praising his authenticity and others scrutinizing his motivations. Despite the mixed reactions, one thing was clear. Barron had captured the nation's attention, but Barron wasn't focused on the buzz. He spent the day replying to emails and messages from young people across the country who shared their own dreams and struggles. A high school student from Detroit wrote, "Your speech made me believe I could go to college one day, even though my family can't afford it." A young man from Texas said, "Hearing you talk about leadership as service made me rethink what I want to do with my life." These messages reaffirmed Barron's purpose. "If my words can make even a small difference," he thought, "then I'm on the right path." Over the weeks that followed, Barron found himself invited to speak at various events, youth conferences, community gatherings, and even a United Nations Youth Forum. At each event, he emphasized the same themes: humility, resilience, and the courage to dream big. At one such conference, a young girl asked him, "What's the most important lesson you've learned so far?" Barron paused, considering his answer. That no dream is too big, and no action is too small. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every step you take matters. Believe in your journey, even when it feels uncertain. Meanwhile, his speech continued to inspire broader conversations about the role of young leaders in shaping the future. Educational institutions began incorporating it into discussions about leadership and civic responsibility. Barron's words, "Leadership isn't about power, it's about service," became a mantra for a new generation of changemakers. Despite the newfound fame, Barron remained grounded. He juggled his college studies with his speaking engagements, often declining opportunities that felt too performative or out of alignment with his values. He prioritized authenticity over optics, much to the admiration of those around him. His professors noted his dedication in class, where he often engaged in thoughtful debates on topics ranging from political philosophy to social justice. "Barron isn't just a name," one professor remarked. "He's a mind, a voice, and a heart." As the months rolled by, Barron began collaborating with nonprofit organizations to launch initiatives aimed at empowering underprivileged youth. His first project, Dream Forward, focused on providing mentorship and resources to students in underserved communities. The program gained traction quickly, with volunteers and donors rallying to support the cause. In one of the program's inaugural sessions, Barron addressed a group of high school students. "When I was your age," he said, "I wasn't sure who I was or what I wanted to do, but I learned that it's okay to start small, to take risks, and to fail along the way. What matters is that you keep moving forward." As Barron's words and initiatives began to resonate nationwide, his influence grew far beyond his immediate circle. His approach to leadership, centered on humility and service, was a refreshing contrast in an era often marked by division and cynicism. People started calling him a bridge builder, someone capable of connecting diverse perspectives and uniting individuals around shared goals. Barron's growing popularity, however, also drew its fair share of critics. Some accused him of leveraging his family name to gain attention, while others questioned his sincerity. Barron, true to his principles, responded to these criticisms with grace. "I welcome the scrutiny," he said during an interview with a major news outlet. "It's a reminder that leadership comes with accountability. If I'm ever in a position where people stop questioning my motives, that's when I'll worry, because that means they've stopped caring." Despite the challenges, Barron remained undeterred. He poured his energy into Dream Forward, which expanded to include scholarships, mental health support, and career guidance programs. One of his proudest moments came when the first cohort of Dream Forward scholars graduated from college. During the ceremony, Barron addressed the graduates with a heartfelt speech. "Today isn't just a celebration of your achievements," he said. "It's a testament to your resilience, your courage, and your belief in what's possible. You are the reason this movement exists, and you are the reason it will continue to grow." The graduates responded with a standing ovation, many of them moved to tears. For Barron, it was a deeply humbling experience. This, he thought, is what real leadership looks like, lifting others up and watching them soar. Meanwhile, Barron's efforts caught the attention of global leaders. Invitations to international conferences and forums began pouring in, and he found himself speaking on platforms he once only dreamed of. At the World Economic Forum, he delivered a keynote address titled "Redefining Leadership for a New Generation." "Leadership," Barron said to an audience of global dignitaries, "isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about listening, learning, and leading with empathy. It's about recognizing that our greatest strength lies not in our differences, but in our shared humanity." The speech received widespread acclaim, with many praising Barron's wisdom and maturity. For the first time, major news outlets began speculating about his potential future in politics. Headlines like "The Making of a Young Leader" and "Barron Trump, a Name Beyond Legacy," dominated the media landscape. Amid the growing attention, Barron remained grounded, thanks in large part to his family and close friends. Melania continued to be his unwavering source of support, offering him quiet wisdom and guidance. Donald, ever the pragmatist, shared occasional advice, often peppered with humor. "You're making waves, kid," Donald said during one of their rare but candid conversations. "Just remember, politics can be a tough game, but if anyone can handle it, it's you." Barron smiled. "Thanks, Dad. I'll keep that in mind." As Barron approached his final year of college, the question of his next steps loomed large. Many assumed he would enter politics immediately, but Barron had other plans. He announced his intention to take a year off to travel, volunteer, and immerse himself in the communities he hoped to serve. "Before I step into any leadership role," he explained, "I want to understand the world better. I want to listen to the stories of people from all walks of life and learn from their experiences. Because leadership isn't about assuming you have all the answers. It's about asking the right questions." His decision was met with admiration and curiosity. Critics who had once dismissed him began to reconsider their opinions. "He's not just a name," one prominent journalist wrote. "He's a thinker, a doer, and most importantly, a listener." During his travels, Barron visited places that were often overlooked by mainstream media: remote villages, struggling urban centers, and areas recovering from natural disasters. He worked alongside local leaders, rolled up his sleeves, and learned firsthand about the challenges people faced. In a small farming community in the Midwest, he met a family struggling to keep their farm afloat. They shared their fears about losing their livelihood and the deep connection they felt to the land. "Your story is powerful," Barron told them, "and it deserves to be heard. Too often, the voices of hardworking families like yours are drowned out. That's something I hope to change." In another corner of the world, he spent time with refugees in a war-torn region. One young boy, no older than 10, showed Barron a tattered drawing of a house with a garden. "This is my dream," the boy said, "to have a home again." The simplicity and poignancy of the boy's dream stayed with Barron, fueling his determination to advocate for those whose voices were often marginalized. As Barron's travels came to an end, he returned to the United States with a renewed sense of purpose. he began outlining a vision for the future, one that prioritized unity, empathy, and progress. In a televised interview marking his return, Barron shared his reflections. "What I've seen, what I've learned, is that no matter where we come from, we all want the same things: dignity, opportunity, and hope. It's up to us to create a world where those dreams are within reach for everyone." The nation watched with anticipation as Barron prepared to take his next steps. Would he enter politics, continue his philanthropic work, or carve a completely new path? One thing was certain: Barron Trump had already proven that leadership isn't about titles or legacy. It's about impact. And as he often reminded those around him, "Maybe I will become president one day, but for now, I'm focused on doing the work that needs to be done."